Carl Jung once said, "Depression is like a lady in black. If she appears, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, treat her as a guest, and listen to what she has to say." This quote resonates deeply with a rare and courageous perspective on depression, not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a messenger with a crucial message for our soul. We live in a society that often views depression purely as something negative, a condition to be avoided at all costs. We're bombarded with messages urging us to think positively or to simply push through sadness, as if these emotions were mere roadblocks in the journey of life. But Jung offers us a different vision. What if depression, instead of being just a shadow that engulfs us, were actually a bridge to a deeper understanding of ourselves? What if it carried within it the seed for a new identity, a new version of who we are meant to be? The aim of this video is to redefine depression, not as a weakness, but as an opportunity for transformation. For Jung, the journey of individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are, often begins in the depths of our greatest sufferings. It's in this dark place that we are confronted with our limitations, our fears, and our unhealed wounds. And paradoxically, it's exactly here that we find the power to redefine who we are. This is an invitation to explore depression as a state of crisis that can be transformative. Let's dive into the human psyche, understand how Jung viewed this phenomenon, and discover how the shadows of depression can act as catalysts for a new life, a new identity. The goal is not to minimize the pain that depression causes, but to look at it through a new lens, one that sees the potential for growth where there was once only darkness. Throughout this script, we'll explore how depression, despite its devastating nature, can be a call from the psyche to turn inward and, through that process, find a new path, a new way of being and existing in the world. If you're ready to redefine your relationship with depression and discover the hidden power it can reveal, prepare yourself for this profound and transformative journey. To Jung, depression is not just a clinical condition, it is also a phenomenon deeply rooted in the soul. He saw it as a manifestation of the individuation process, where the psyche tries to draw our attention to parts of ourselves that have been neglected or suppressed. This concept is closely tied to what Jung called the shadow, the aspects of our personality that we reject, that we hide from ourselves and others, which end up dwelling in the depths of our unconscious. When we ignore or deny these shadowy aspects for long enough, the psyche responds in a powerful way. Depression may emerge as a sign that there is an internal imbalance, a disconnection between our conscious self and the unacknowledged parts of our being. Jung believed that the cure for this disconnection is not to try to avoid or eliminate these feelings, but to integrate them, to accept our shadow as an essential part of who we are. The process of individuation, central to Jungian psychology, is precisely about integrating these rejected aspects and finding a way to become more whole and authentic. It's as if depression were a cry from the soul, a desperate attempt to force us to look inward and recognize that something is missing, that something needs to change. In this sense, depression transforms from a passive condition into an active energy of transformation. Jung observed that depressive crises often emerge when we reach a transitional point in our lives, a moment when the old way of being is no longer sufficient, but the new has yet to take form. It's in this liminal state, this space between who we were and who we can become, that true transformation happens. Depression then can be seen as a rite of passage, an initiation into a new phase of life. It's important to note that Jung didn't romanticize the pain of depression, but he did acknowledge its transformative value. He understood that even though it's a painful process, confronting our shadow and the darkest parts of our psyche is a necessary step for self-knowledge and spiritual growth. Without this integration, we risk remaining stuck in a limited version of ourselves, unable to access the full potential of our soul. So instead of viewing depression as a failure or something to be quickly overcome, Jung invites us to see it as an opportunity for redemption. He suggests that we need to make space for the pain, to listen to it, to allow it to reveal what needs to be healed and transformed within us. This approach challenges us to see our sadness not as an obstacle, but as a key to a new reality. Let's bring these ideas into a more concrete context to visualize how depression can manifest in our lives and how it pushes us to reassess who we are. Imagine a person named Anna. She is a successful professional with a stable career and a life that, from the outside, seems ideal. Yet, Anna begins to feel a deep sadness, an emptiness she can't quite explain. She tries to ignore these feelings, throwing herself even more into her work and external distractions. But the sadness grows heavier until she can no longer dismiss it. Anna's story is a classic example of how depression can arise when we disconnect from essential parts of ourselves. In her case, the deep sadness reflects her inauthentic life, where she followed a path that seemed right to others, but wasn't in tune with her true self. Anna's depression is like a psychic alarm, a clear message that something needs to change, that she must look inward and confront the parts of herself she's been suppressing or ignoring. Instead of trying to cure this sadness with quick fixes like distractions or medications that merely mask the issue, Anna decides to do something different. Inspired by Jung's teachings, she begins to see her depression as an opportunity for introspection. Rather than running away from the pain, she allows herself to feel it and explore it. Anna starts asking herself, what is this sadness trying to tell me? What parts of me have I neglected for so long? Through this process, Anna discovers that she always had a creative side, a passion for writing that she put aside when she chose her corporate career. Reconnecting with this suppressed part of herself, she begins to find a new sense of purpose and meaning in her life. Her depression, which initially seemed like a relentless enemy, reveals itself as a powerful ally in her journey to discovering a more authentic version of herself. Anna's story helps us understand how depression can act as a kind of existential crisis that, while painful, has the potential to reconnect us with our deepest, truest desires. This is the paradox of depression according to Jung. By forcing us to confront the darker parts of our shadow, it gives us the chance to redefine who we are. Of course, every person is unique, and the causes of depression can be varied and complex. The path out of this state won't always be as clear or straightforward as Anna's example, but the central idea is that by approaching depression with a willingness to learn from it, rather than just fighting against it, we can begin to uncover new possibilities for being. It's an invitation to transform our suffering into self-knowledge, to dive into the depths of the psyche and emerge with a richer, more complete understanding of ourselves. True healing, then, doesn't come from eliminating the pain, but from accepting and integrating what it has to teach us. As we delve deeper into our exploration of depression and its transformative role in the psyche, it's essential to connect this phenomenon to the concept of the collective unconscious and archetypes, central ideas in Jung's theory. Jung believed that beyond the personal unconscious, made up of our individual experiences, memories, and repressed emoticons, we all share a collective unconscious, which is a reservoir of universal human experiences and archetypal patterns. When someone suffers from depression, they're not just grappling with their own personal demons. They're also touching a much broader field of human experience. The feelings of hopelessness, emptiness, and alienation that arise during depression can be seen as expressions of archetypes, such as the hermit or the walking dead. These archetypes symbolize states of deep introspection, withdrawal from the outer world, and potential rebirth. The archetype of the hermit, for example, represents one who retreats into solitude in search of inner wisdom and transformation. For Jung, encountering these archetypes during depression is an opportunity to explore the deeper layers of our psyche, to engage in a dialogue with these primal forces, and to integrate their power into our journey of individuation. In this sense, depression isn't merely a state of sadness. It's a call to self-transformation, a symbolic death of the old self and the birth of a new identity. It becomes an initiatory experience, connecting us directly with our essence and with the larger forces of the collective unconscious. This transformation, however, is not easy. It requires the courage to face pain and the willingness to shed the masks we've built over our lives. The ego, the conscious part of our psyche that identifies with our social image, resists this change. It fights against the idea of losing control and confronting the unknown, shadowy parts of ourselves. This is where many people get stuck, trapped in cycles of suffering because they fear diving into the depths of their being. But as Jung teaches us, it's precisely in this plunge into the unconscious that true freedom lies. By accepting depression as a guide that leads us into our own darkness, we begin to see that this darkness holds the power of transformation. Depression forces us to confront our weaknesses, fears, repressed desires, and internal conflicts. Yet at the same time, it offers us the key to a more authentic life, aligned with our true purpose. The integration of these shadow aspects is not just a personal healing, it's also a connection to something greater than ourselves. When we accept our depression and strive to understand its messages, we are participating in an archetypal dance that connects all human beings in their quest for meaning and transformation. It's the hero's journey, the cycle of death and rebirth, present in all mythologies and reflecting our own need to evolve. This process, although challenging, is the essence of what Jung called individuation. It's the quest for an identity that is not shaped by social norms or the labels imposed by the outer world, but one that emerges from the depths of the unconscious as an authentic expression of who we truly are. In this context, depression stops being an enemy and becomes a powerful ally in the journey to becoming whole. Studying depression through the lens of Jungian psychology is not just a battle against darkness, but a search to uncover the hidden light within ourselves. Accepting depression as part of this process is a profound act of courage, as it means acknowledging that our suffering has a purpose, the purpose of awakening us to a new way of being. By confronting this darkness, we allow ourselves to face our shadows, the parts of ourselves we have rejected or feared. And it is precisely in this confrontation that the opportunity for healing and transformation lies. Jung reminds us that we cannot rid ourselves of our shadow by trying to ignore or banish it, but only by accepting, embracing, and integrating it into our psyche. When we allow ourselves to feel the pain and understand its roots, we discover that depression is not the end, but an invitation to a new beginning. It is through this acceptance that the alchemy of the soul occurs, a transformative process where pain becomes the seed for new growth, just as the chrysalis must pass through darkness before emerging as a butterfly. We too need to navigate the shadows of our depression to rise with a new identity, a stronger, truer, and more aligned version of ourselves. This transformation is a fundamental step in the journey of individuation, the path to becoming what Jung described as the self. The self is the totality of who we are, embracing both light and darkness, both our strengths and our weaknesses. When we move toward the self, we are moving toward a complete integration of all aspects of our psyche, accepting our complex, multifaceted nature. So how can we apply this to our daily lives? The answer lies in changing the way we perceive depression. Instead of seeing it only as a problem to be solved, we should learn to view it as a stern yet wise teacher. We can begin by asking ourselves, what is this sadness trying to teach me? What aspects of myself am I ignoring? What changes do I need to make in my life to honor who I truly am? By looking at depression through this new lens, we can start to see that it offers us a freedom we never thought possible, the freedom to shed the masks we wear to please others and to reconnect with our true essence. And in doing so, we create space for our life to transform from the inside out. In the end, Jung invites us to trust the process, to believe that even in the darkest moments, there is an inner force seeking the light, a force that guides us toward the discovery of who we really are. The hidden power in depression lies in its ability to help us redefine our identity, to reinvent ourselves, and to emerge from that state with a deeper and more compassionate understanding of ourselves. So, if you are going through the darkness of depression, remember, this is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of something new. Do not be afraid to look within, to confront your shadows, and to listen to what they have to say. Because it is through this darkness that you will find the light that has always been within you, a light with the power to redefine who you are and guide you to a new way of living and being. And in this way, depression, which once seemed like an adversary, becomes an indispensable ally in your journey to becoming who you were always meant to be. As Jung would say, It is in the darkness that true transformations occur. And by accepting that darkness, you are finally taking the first step toward becoming the complete and authentic person you were always destined to be.